Since 1945, Weatherby's been building the finest firearms and ammunition in the world. And today, we're proud to continue that legacy from our facility in Sheridan, Wyoming. This is On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
Welcome back to On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. I'm your host today, Luke Torkelson, Weatherby's Chief Operating Officer, and I'm joined by my co-host, my good friend, Tyler Grayton. How are you today, Tyler?
I am doing so good. So good.
Tyler, you're our marketing manager here. Thanks for doing that job.
Yeah, it's a little bit different every day, so I love it. I was going to say it's thankless, but no, it's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
And we're joined across the table, for those that aren't on the video version on YouTube, of our 66% of our product management team.
Yeah.
JD Ponciano.
Yep, me and Tyler's last name correct.
I've been practicing.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
great.
you get his wrong more than mine, and I think mine's the harder one. But
Yeah, it's because I read the names in my head, and then I say them, and then I get them wrong. Because,
Tyler's I get asked about more than anybody's, though.
yeah, his is the hardest. It's a tricky one.
It's not phonetic or anything. It just is what it is.
Yeah. JD, you're our product manager. Thanks for being here and doing that job.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Jacob, you've had a couple different jobs here.
Yes, I have.
Now, on the product management team, Jacob Solberg, welcome back to the podcast. Been on several times now, from bison hunts to a couple other things. So,
Varmint Master. That was a good one.
Vomit Master. That was fun.
Yeah.
I just will give an update on the Varmint Master. We sold more than we planned.
I think that you had a over-under, like a number of units sold, and I think hit the over pretty darn quick.
Yes, there were two parts to that. We had a specific sales rep of the frickin' frack variety that claimed a number that I don't believe he hit the number himself, but as a company, we definitely passed that number.
Yeah, that's great.
So, yeah, good job, Randy Clark. Today, we're talking about 338 RPM.
Yeah, this one's exciting. This is one of my favorites.
I think that it is a very unique cartridge. And sometimes when a cartridge is purpose-built for like a singular action or a singular purpose, sometimes people get a little lost in the why. For us, I think before we can really talk about the 338 RPM, we have to do a quick refresher on the 6.5 RPM, which launched in 2019 as part of the original backcountry, the year that we moved our business from California to Wyoming. That was a fun one for me because it was like my first cartridge to be a part of at Weatherby. And it was part of the naming, like all through the ballistics. And I was like, holy cow, this thing, we're really good ballistics, but in that rebated rim, so it'll fit in the 6-lug action. And that was really where the magic happened, I think, for the backcountry rifle, to have a sub 5-pound rifle with the ballistics that we were seeing out of the 6.5 RPM. We couldn't have used a 6.5 PRC because that's a big Magnum bolt face, a fat cartridge. And the 6-lug is such a skinny, svelte, lightweight action, we didn't have the bolt face diameter enough to fit a Magnum bolt face, if that makes sense. So, fast forward a couple years, we were trying to decide, what should we do with this RPM family, rebated precision Magnum? It's really cool. There's 7s, there's 30s, and Adam was like, I want a big one, and I don't think anybody would expect the next one to be a 338, but I want a really big bore, really lightweight rifle, and thus 338 RPM came to be. So that's a little background, because some people will compare 338 Win Mag or a couple of the other 338s to 338 RPM, but the reason we did it is so it would fit in that really lightweight action and save over a pound on what you're carrying on the shoulder.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and it was also a little bit of an update to the 338.6 as well, because we did the 338.6 basically through the I want to say it was the early 2000s. Carried that ammo for quite a while too, but it just didn't have the velocity that the 338 RPM does.
The RPM case has pretty significant case capacity. We've been playing with it again. We're not here to talk about that, but I didn't mean to bring that up just now. So that just happened. But we're always playing with cartridges, though. So expect that we will continue to grow the RPM family. So, Jacob, run us through just a little bit of a ballistic comparison on 338.
So we have options from a 185 up to a 225. Hand loaders obviously could go heavier if they wanted to, could go a little bit lighter, but really that's the sweet spot that we found through a lot of our testing. The 185 from a 24-inch barrel is 3,100 feet per second, which is
That's moving.
pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Translate that out to 300 yards, you still have basically 2,500 foot-pounds of energy. 500 yards, you still have 1,778. That's incredible to still have that much energy from something that, again, being a 185 grain bullet going, with a high BC too is the thing, because it's a .432 BC on that, which is not the best for some of the 338s. You start moving up to like the 300 grains, they get some really phenomenal BCs, but even so, I mean, it's carrying that energy so well.
Yeah. There's a few different bullet options there. I've been partial to the 185 because I like the velocity. But the 225 also no slouch, a little better BC.
Well, it's .514, so about a 100-point jump there, which is significant.
That helps it catch up downrange, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. At 500 yards, the 185 is going 2,080 feet per second, and the 225 is going 1981, but it actually has about 150 foot-pounds of energy more.
Yeah, because basically velocity is the same.
Velocity.
You're squaring the velocity, but if it's equal, then you're multiplying by the bullet weight. So
it just gains. But besides that, we also have a 225 interlock, and for still a short time, the 225 AccuBonds. Both of those, again, very good options. That interlock, .397 BC on that bullet. The AccuBond has a .550 BC. That AccuBond. That's been a good one. A lot of the people called into customer service. They really like that AccuBond.
Yeah. I was looking up some time ago, I think it was on the Hammer Time forum. They've got a couple different threads about 338 RPM and using like some of the hammer bullets. Some people like the partition as well. We don't load that, but they were getting very good results hand loading partitions in 338 RPM. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, JD and I had a bear gun a couple of years ago that we were loading 262 hammers.
Yep,
on
262s.
that, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's fun. JD, you're here because you're a 338 fan.
Big fan.
Tell me why.
I like the right tool for the right job. So I like that it can go in the lightweight, 5-pound gun, and anything in North America, doesn't matter what you're doing, you can kill it. But a few years ago on the antelope hunt, our buddy Joe, he used it for everything, including antelope. And
He
it's
did.
not that you
I
can't,
remember that.
His was very dead, that's for sure, when he shot his. But I just like that it's in this new configuration. It's obviously a lot more affordable. But in 338 RPM in the backcountry, I ran it in the 18-inch barrel. We put it in a different stock than it comes in. It comes in the Blacktooth, but we put it in the Bastion, and some people thought it looked a little stubby. I thought it looked awesome, but it shot great. That was the thing. And in those examples, it shot everything great, but it shot the 185s really well. And then we started playing with the hammers, and they shot phenomenal, and that's why we ended up on that hunt taking
262. And you guys killed a bear?
Yeah, I shot a bear. JD, that gun was just shooting so good, and we got some really cool phone scope. If you just see that bullet flying and just absolutely dropped in. He was at 400 yards. Yeah. So I'm pretty partial to the cartridge just because of that. That was a really fun trip. So kind of made a core memory with 338 RPM. So it's been a favorite.
That was one of your early hunts with Weatherby, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And so I think my first couple of hunts, it was 338 RPM and 65 RPM. So I've just been kind of the 338 RPM, I think, launched 2 weeks before I started too. So I kind of got to see the back half of that. So that's kind of a fun one to me. And that was fun. We kind of built a little Weatherby custom. It was kind of a Franken gun with like testing bullets that weren't available yet. It was cool. So I think that's where my affinity for it comes from.
I remember early on in our development of the 338 RPM, we realized from a 24-inch barrel to an 18-inch barrel there's obviously velocity loss, but not like you'd expect to see like on, say, a 6.5 300 or something like that where you're substantially overbore. It was, I can't remember right off the top of my head now, but it's not massive amount to lose 6 inches a barrel.
Most of our offerings are actually losing less than about 200 feet per second on each one.
Yeah,
which is incredible. Again, one of the things that the gunsmiths always hammered into the customer service head, when you take off an inch of barrel, you can expect about 25 to 50 feet per second of velocity loss. And so for that, again, 6 inches, you're only losing, in some cases, only 180 feet per second.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Very efficient.
We talk about that a lot because of so many of the things that we do they need the velocity. 6.5 300, it doesn't make sense to chop down.
You got to have
right?
a 26-inch barrel.
Yeah. In this, because you can, I'm very much, let's see how short we can go.
Yeah.
And then suppressors, and there's so many things we're seeing now with other calibers coming out that that's the whole point of them, is to have the short barrel. So this was kind of before any of that. It was, it worked, so why not keep chopping it down? But we talk, excuse me, a lot about that where, the first thing I feel like Jacob's mind goes is, well, let's make that barrel longer and make that thing go faster. And I've had Weatherby since I was a little kid, so I've dealt with 300 Weatherby and 270 Weatherby and stuff that are, they do need a longer barrel. But with this stuff, I'm like, chop that thing down as low as we can go. So I really like that we can go down to 18, no problem.
Yeah, your joke was if you're on the YouTube, we have a rifle here in front of us. You're like, let's just cut that down to the end of the stock there.
Yeah, how short can we get?
Yeah.
I've got a friend that works at Q, and they've been a champion of the 8.6 Blackout, and which is 338. They've got some subsonic loads that they've killed Cape Buffalo with.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's wild.
And it's tiny. You can't.
Like we're talking like 8-inch barrels. It's a pistol at this point. But we're going substantially faster. Well, that's a big, slow projectile with the 1 and 3 twist. Like that's a wild combo. Interesting cartridge. But you mentioned something a second ago, JD, that we haven't let the cat fully out of the bag on is in this.
Oh yeah, I forget it. Not everybody's.
So what is this configuration that you're talking about?
This is 338 RPM now in the 307, specifically in the SF. So more of an entry-level price point for us instead of the backcountry. And in a Mark V, this is on that 307 platform, so REM 700 style with the detachable box mag, adjustable comb. So, and the heavier barrel, that is a difference, I guess, on this one. That
it's the heavier barrel contour, but because that inner diameter of a 338 bullet is so big, we just can't do the pencil barrels that we do on the other ones. So
same thing with the backcountry.
Yeah, it is. It's a number 3 contour on the Mark V backcountry. So, yeah. So on the Mark V line, the lowest price point 338 RPM would have been a. Is it in the Live Wild?
We have not in Live Wild.
Yeah.
We have it in an AccuMark, I believe.
It'd be AccuMark. So.
With the 24-inch barrel.
Correct.
On that one. So, it would be with 24-inch barrel.
Correct.
Yeah, AccuMark is, and then the backcountry 2 is an 18-inch, and the backcountry carbon is a 20. Yeah. So.
But you see reviews, people that are like, they got an AccuMark and a 24, and they're like, I'm so glad that I went 24. And then the next one is like, so glad I went 18 on this one. So it's a preference thing on what you're doing and what the purpose of it is.
I've probably been influenced by Adam, but historically I've kind of liked longer barrel because I want the velocity. But I have definitely been tempted now, more so in recent history. And I think last fall, hunting with the new Federal's new 7 backcountry with a 20-inch barrel, but basically getting Magnum performance out of a shorter barrel, and then you got room for a suppressor, carrying this gun in like tight woods, Alaska type stuff. You don't want to fight a long barrel when you're in some dense cover. That makes a really nice package to be able to be substantially shorter overall. Yes, you do sacrifice velocity, but if all you care about is velocity, there's this cartridge called 338, 378 that's got your name on it.
I
My
feel like
favorite.
it's a good tool. What you were saying
Yeah.
is like, so you grew up in the Northwest. I took a backcountry and 338 RPM up to Alaska moose hunting, and another one of the buddies had 300 Weatherby. But it's like, he's like, man, I'm getting one of those because it was the best tool for the job. It's like we weren't gonna have shots that were that far, so it's like when you're going through all that thick, it's like, yep, this thing is perfect for Alaska.
When I think of 338 RPM, I think of Alaska, super thick. I think of bears. I think of mountain goats, stuff that are, tough that you're like, I want to anchor that thing. I don't want it going into that brush that I'm going to have to chase it.
Well, yeah, mountain goats, you don't want to fall off a cliff kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you want to drop it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like North Idaho, super thick stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
I feel like I get the question all the time. I don't know if you guys do, but people always come up to me and they say, if I was just going to get one gun, and I'm always like, man, I hate this question
Yeah, it's
because
a tough
I
one.
like the, or what are you doing with it? Are you going antelope hunting? Are you going elk hunting? Are you going for moose or bears? What are you doing? And I feel like most people, they're like, on either end of the spectrum, I'm not likely to go moose hunting, or, I don't have I'm not going to get to antelope hunt all the time, but something that'll be great for, kind of everything else. And to me, this is like a very good option for that you can go down to a 185 up to a 225 for just the stuff that we load. And some of the stuff you mentioned, Luke, you can, like even those hammers, the 262s, you can go super heavy with this if you want, but it's just a really good, for that type of stuff. And if you live in a place where you would run a suppressor or you don't want to run one and you're just trying to go as short as you can, this is a great option.
Yeah, and some people get kind of hung up. We're like, what if I need to shoot 800 yards? And you're like, okay, most people do not need to be shooting that far. So
Correct.
So it's like if you needed a gun that kind of could do everything, you just kind of get a little closer. I mean, if you can't get to 600 yards, I mean, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I think there's a couple schools of thought, like depending on your hunt style. If you're going to go on a Western style mountainous elk and mule deer hunt, you probably do want the velocity to potentially shoot cross canyon where you might be 500 plus yards. That's not necessarily what this gun was made for. It was more for bears, for moose, for other big game where you're going to be more likely to have an encounter below 500 yards.
Yeah.
You're still doing a lot of hiking, a lot of work. Mountain goats too, but mountain goats are funny. You can usually get closer, not always, but you can generally get closer. I know Adam carried I can't remember his shot distance off the top of my head, but it wasn't significant. Like inside of 3,
I feel like it was like 325 or somewhere. In there.
Right in there, and it pretty well did anchor it.
Yeah, it did.
It would be fun to do just here at the office, like have everybody record for the season what your shot distances are, because we always shoot long distance in practice at that stuff, but actual hunting scenarios, I feel like it's pretty few and far between that somebody says a number where I'm like, what?
You did what? Excuse me?
Most of the time they say it and you're like, oh, that's awesome. Good job.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned about the longer stuff, like the right tool for the job, if I know I'm going to be in a place where it's longer distances, and I know not everybody works for a gun company and isn't going to have a plethora of guns, but I don't feel like most guys have one. They're going to have a few.
Sure.
And at a very minimum, guys are going to have a light and a heavy. They'll have a lighter caliber for the small stuff and a heavier for the bigger stuff. This covers kind of everything, if for the heavies anyway, but for the long range stuff, I've had a 300 Weatherby since I was a little kid. So it's like, if I knew I was going to take a longer shot,
Let's do that.
Let's take that one. But it's also the 26-inch barrel, and
it's a different animal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's a unique take. And to that point, it's not necessarily everybody's first gun. I don't know if I would recommend 330 RPM to be your first or only gun.
Yeah.
But it is a darn good auxiliary and backup and purpose-built gun for really lightweight, carrying it a long way or a long time on a hunt. With that, then comes questions about recoil, because you've got a lot of powder, a 78, I can't remember case capacity, but it's in like the 80s, low 80s overall case capacity. You got a lot of grains of powder with a relatively heavy projectile, and without a break, recoil is not insignificant. I will say that. With a break or with a can, though, it is on par with like a 300 Win Mag. At shows a lot, people will ask, well, what about the recoil? Like, yeah, it's significant, but Brenda, who's like 5'9", like, I don't know what she weighs, but not a lot, shoots it just fine. Has killed quite a few things. Dana, who's like 5'4", also weighs next to nothing. Killed a buffalo, pretty much no problem. Like, I think your shoulder's gonna hurt. It's part of hunting.
Yeah.
It's either like, do you carry it the whole time, or do you have it hurt for one shot? I kind of want the one shot.
And I don't expect guys to go plinking with this, so it's not.
It's not a range queen.
No.
No,
I love it when Adam responds like that when people ask about it, and he's like, "Well, my wife and my daughter don't have any problem with it."
Yeah,
but, I mean, all of our stuff recoils, right? I mean, we're not known for speed for no reason. Recoil's part of the game, and you maybe do get used to it, but it was more tame than I expected it to be when I first started shooting it, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like a recoil is just very like person specific too. And yeah, and it's like the better, like more experienced shooter you are as well, and you have good form and all that stuff, then shooting a rifle with a higher recoil, those guys are the guys that tend to not complain because their form is repeatable, right? So.
I think people associate recoil with one gun that they shot in that caliber at some point. So they shot Grandpa's whatever, .6.
30-06 is always in there.
But it was like a wood stock with no, it was just
like a wood recoil pad? Yeah.
And so they associate that with like all 30 cals or anything above, 6.5 or whatever it's very unique to them on what they've experienced. So we were just talking about it the other day, like what recoil feels like a kick, what feels more like a shove, and what feels snappy. And to me, they're all three very different, and it could be in a smaller caliber, but might feel snappier because of the gun that it's in.
Yeah. So we're adding this to the 307 line, 4 models out of the gate. What are they?
So the SF is this first one here. Then we're going to have the Range XP 2.0. That one's actually going to be very, very exciting. I like that one coming up. We're also going to have...
What's the barrel length?
The rest of these are all going to be 18s.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this SF is going to be a 20.
20. All the Range SF family is 20 heavier barrels, no matter what the chambering is. It's kind of that number 3 contour or Sendero, and yeah. Did I say it right?
Yeah,
JD?
it is. It's just everybody has a different Sendero, and everybody has a different number 4 and number 3. So that the numbers thing or the names of them, it's like
it's a heavier barrel.
Yeah.
That's easy.
We say heavy barrel here because like we've even like, do we call it Weatherby Sendero? It's like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah. There's no standard.
The one I think that everyone's probably going to be the most excited about is going to be the Alpine MDT.
Yeah.
Because now you have a
Short
folding
barrel,
stock.
folding stock.
Yep. I see that one being
I love
a fan
that stock.
favorite.
Yeah, we owe Ryan Lampers one of these because remember we tried to get him an early prototype.
We did.
And it was just with the lighter
Somebody
barrel.
said yes before it existed.
Yeah.
Was that me or Adam?
That was Adam.
Okay.
It was at
I
Western
thought it was a
Hunt.
tag team. I think
It
you're
was-
both
We may have
responsible.
both said yes.
It was Western Hunt. I think Adam
Yeah.
said to Luke, and Luke's like, yeah.
For
We
sure.
can do that.
Get it to you next
Yeah, we
week.
couldn't do
But
that.
18-inch barrel, you fold the stock, you take off 9 inches of stock, and it's like itty bitty. It's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So,
Oh, one more.
yeah.
The Hush guys.
Yeah.
Can't forget about them.
Yeah, they like to shoot the bears.
Oh, yeah. So we got that in the 307 Hush, too, coming out.
It's going to be cool because we got some spiral fluting and some skip fluting.
A little bit of variety for everything.
Yeah.
Different flavors.
I will just call out the elephant in the room. If you're listening to the podcast, you may or may not have had a Mark V with the carbon barrel on order for quite a while. When we did our original testing, shot great. We got some production barrels in, and BSF has been phenomenal. Like every barrel we've played with, every cartridge, pretty much the best that we have as far as accuracy goes. It tested well. Something happened. We don't know necessarily fully what. Sometimes ballistics are a bit of a mystery. They weren't shooting up to where we wanted them to be. We, I think, are very close to getting that worked out. We have some more barrels coming. Unfortunately, a lot of the ballistic stuff is just trial and error. Like you don't really know, oh, the lands and grooves, we need to increase this, and like everything's in spec. It's like how it's supposed to be, and it just wasn't shooting well enough. So we'd rather have you mad at us for not sending you a gun than to have you mad at us for sending you a gun that was not accurate. So we've got that worked out, I think, with BSF. We're very, very close. Hopefully this is not a Ryan Lampers 338. Sure, we can do that situation. But I feel pretty good about it now. It's taken way too long. So if you've been on a wait list, I'm very sorry, but we're very close. So that's why there's no Alpine CT in this, at least yet.
Got a couple orders to fill before we do that.
We do, yeah. So we got to catch up on those Mark Vs. I see them on the back order report all the time, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, this one should be pretty exciting though for some folks, because I feel like since we've launched Model 307, and then anytime we talk about 330 RPM, we get that question a lot. Like, is this going to be available in Model 307? And we've just been kind of like twiddling our thumbs, like maybe sometime, and kind of alluding to that. So I think a lot of people are going to be excited to try that cartridge. And
it's more attainable now. I mean, that SF is going to be, I mean, it might vary at retail, but $1,000, $1,100. Then the XP2 and the Hush are going to be like $1,250, $1,350. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Quite a range. Basically $1,000 below what you could have gotten into a 338 in the Mark V family.
Yeah.
What am I missing? Did I miss anything? 338 RPM?
It's the accessorizable part of it, that because it's now going to be in 307.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You start here, and then later on down the road, you decide you want to get a chassis or a stock.
Or maybe you already have a chassis.
Yeah, that'll fit. It'll
Yeah.
work for it. You can do that. So that's a question we get, is like, hey, if I buy this now, what am I going to be able to do later? What would it be able to turn into? And with this one now, it's kind of sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's kind of, we've talked about it quite a bit. The 307 is basically our take on the bolt action Lego game. So you got a lot of room to play and pivot and whatever you want to add, swap out. It's pretty much 100% 700 platform compatible. The only major difference is the scope mounting screws being a little bigger with the 840 instead of 632.
648.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Numbers.
I've been looking at a lot of numbers. This tariff stuff's not that fun, guys. I'm not
the
going to lie.
I was just going to say, tariffs are a pretty hot topic right now, but it's made right here, so you don't got to worry about it.
Yeah, it's essentially 100%. The only thing that historically has not been U.S. made is the Trigger Tech trigger, but I believe they're just about working through making that here now. So it's at least maybe there or very soon to be 100% U.S. And we just are really partial to that no creep, super crisp brake Trigger Tech trigger. They just feel great. So, and if you're partial to a Timney or something else,
Simple swap.
It's a standard 700 swap, so makes it real easy.
Super easy.
I like the idea if you have a chassis or a Hunt 26 and another gun, getting a Range SF for pretty cheap, throwing that in there, you've got, for less than you paid for your original stock, if it's a Hunt 26, you've got a whole gun to put in it now.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
And then for those range stocks, or if you upgrade to like a Bastion stock or whatever, the Peak 44 accessories, like we've got an Arca pick on this one right now. Those have been really popular. So pretty cool way to just upgrade your rifle pretty quickly. And then the J rails, those have been, again, those little accessories were things that have done way good for Peak 44, like better than I thought. So they've been pretty awesome.
All right, I'm going to take your question, flip it around. You're stuck with a 338 RPM, but you only get one hunt to go on. What are you going on?
Forever?
JD? No, just like this fall. You have to go on a hunt with a 338 RPM.
Have to be here, or can I go anywhere?
You just need to say an answer.
I would go moose hunting. Like
Moose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just meant like, do I have to draw this tag?
No. This is super hypothetical. Moose is a good. Adam and Brenda both killed moose. Tyler, you did not, but
I would like to go back redemption.
Yeah.
I took one, but we killed one on that trip. It was pretty awesome. So actually, Barnes just dropped a video on that like a week ago.
Nice.
And it's doing pretty good. You should check that one out.
Nice.
But if I had to pick, moose would be way up there. But remember when we did Siga Blacktails? I honestly think I would take one of these, because there's a lot of bears running around there.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
also it's like none of our shots on Sitka were very
Long.
far at all. So I think I would have felt way better. And it was so like the alders and stuff. That was the perfect scenario. I think that's the perfect Kodiak gun. I would 100% take that back.
Awesome.
Or I would take that instead. I had a 300 Weatherby on that one. Shot great, but
That's a
would be
good
that would be the
Mhm.
one.
Because it's some thick stuff there.
Going
Yeah.
through the alders, that place where it's just everything wants
Yeah.
to swallow you. But that was the other thing we kind of talked about. But how many times you're on a hunt where bears, whether you have a tag or not, are a concern?
Yeah.
And that one, it is, and just having something that you're like, well, if I need to shoot a bear, I'll be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had like at shows. That's where I get a lot is when we're at trade shows. Is the guys who have bought their kind of personal rifle, but they're a guide. They're like, "Yep, this is the rifle that I carry now." So I've had a bunch of North Idaho guys.
After we went to Alaska, two of the guys that are buddies from up there that helped transport Nolan from Foxtail, he ordered one. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that
Him
makes
and
perfect sense.
Ray.
Yeah, they're both
So
on
both
Kodiak.
guys.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
And they're
Ton
doing
of guides
they're
out there.
guiding for mountain goats and brown
Yeah.
bears, and so I mean that's the guy,
Yeah,
that needs one of
Sportsman's
these.
Warehouse is a good partner of ours, and they ordered some Mark Vs, but they ordered quite a few 338 RPMs to load into the Alaska stores because it does really well up there.
Yeah, I have a friend who lives in Soldotna, and we were talking about this rifle just because we were coming out with new, and he does some like really good photography. He's like, "Hey, there's 338 RPM in the Soldotna
Yeah.
Sportsman's right now." I'm like, "That's awesome."
Yeah, they like purpose loaded some in last year for because they saw the benefit in the cartridge. Yeah, it's pretty cool. What's your answer, Jacob?
It's a tough one. I've never killed a bear before, so it'd be hard to not do a bear. But I've always kind of wanted to do the Russian brown bear hunt. I don't know why. That one's always intrigued me.
Go for an ice bear while you're at it. Why?
Hey, you tell me how the permitting process is.
That's the problem.
This
But
is hypothetical.
yeah, it's-
hypothetical. Sorry.
there were no restrictions. I'm just letting it fly. But yeah, I don't
That
know.
was specific. I love it. Russian brown bear.
Russian brown bear.
Heck yeah. I would probably do brown bear, but like in the Alaska variety.
Yeah.
I've actually had a brown bear tag before and was carrying a rifle on a moose hunt and did not find a brown bear. It was inland, so I think the density is way lower than when you're coastal. But I would love to do a coastal brown bear hunt with 338 RPM.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Mhm.
There's a Sheridan guy I ran into at the Mule Deer Foundation banquet a couple weeks ago here, who's headed out maybe like very soon, any day now. He killed a 10-foot brown bear in Alaska several years ago, and he's going back and he's trying to look for a bigger one. But I was like, man, I'm so jealous. It's just like we're kind of emerging from winter here in Sheridan, and a warm day today.
We're coming out of our dens.
We're coming out of our dens. Yeah, you kind of get that bug where you're like, okay, I'm not hibernating anymore. Let's get ready. So yeah, I've been thinking about bears quite a bit.
It's the buzz of the office. Either turkeys or bears, one way or another. But
Tyler's already got a turkey down.
Yeah, that's why you just gotta kill your turkeys early so you can go bear hunting.
Like first week of April, he's got a turkey down.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good job, Tyler. What's this thing?
Oh man, so we got a really sweet letter the other day, and we get a lot of people who write in either via the On Our Mark podcast email, but this one came in from the snail mail, and I just wanted to read it because we've gotten a lot. It's really good to get notes like this. So this is from our friend Michael, and he wrote us, "Today is my birthday. While I hope to buy myself a fantastic present, but haven't been able to find a Varmint Master, I must say that I'm really looking forward to your reintroduction of this rifle. I currently work at Sportsman's Warehouse and have been following this for a while now, but I can't seem to find one on the internet. When I could, I last heard it was scheduled to be released in March, which, if you were on our social,
we did that.
many of them went out last week, so that's awesome." He goes, "Many birthdays passed when my friends had posters of movie stars and cheerleaders on their bedroom walls. I had posters of Weatherby rifles on mine.
That's awesome.
I used to play hooky from school and walk several miles to Weatherby retail gun store in Ogden. Time better spent, by the way. I even recall when there was a bank that offered a Weatherby rifle if you opened an account with $500 deposit.
Bank of Boulder.
Might as well have been $5 million to me at that time. He said, I finally bought one at Sportsman's years ago. Mine is a 257 Weatherby, and I love the rifle. I've enjoyed shooting and hunting with this rifle. There's many young guys at the gun counter are deeply into their combat Tupperware. But I have managed to convince two
The
of
cheese graters.
He goes, but I managed to convince two of them to buy a Weatherby rifle, and they are now just as devoted as I am. Make that an almost. Will we soon be able to fill out adoption papers on one of these new rifles? I would really appreciate any information you give me so I can order a Varmint Master. And this came from Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Michael Jackson. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we love getting things like this. We're going to send Michael something out. He had his little address. So that just, if you guys are ever thinking
That's
about
cool.
fun Weatherby stuff, any cool stories, you should definitely write letters. We read them. So.
We do. We love the email. The email address is onOurMark@weatherby.com. You can snail mail some stuff in too. You can find our address on the line. That one's pretty fun.
Yeah,
and
that
the
was
answer
great.
to that question is yes, you can. And as I earlier said, we did exceed our plan on how many of those we were going to sell. So I can't give you a good idea on timeline other than that we have begun shipping. And so as we fill in orders, we do our best to do first in, first out from the order process. So depending on when your local store or distributor ordered, they will be starting to arrive now. So our capacity, not quite for the year, but close to, is almost full for these. So we're gonna be pushing a lot out throughout the rest of the year. So it's a good problem.
Great problem. We're going to be working hard out there.
Jacob, you were part of a efficiency improvement process, a Kaizen event, because we sold so many. We're like, we're gonna have to figure out how to do these faster. And just the truth of it is, that high gloss finish that everybody loves is really, really hard.
Well, it just takes so much time to sand and polish and get everything to that same pristine level that everyone expects it to be. And it's a conversation we all kind of have here around the office. Like when someone announces something high gloss, it's like, oh, I want to see that. That's going to be really cool. And then you see one, and it's like,
That's not high
but
gloss.
it's just not. It's just not our high gloss. But no, it's such a intricate process, and the team that does it, I mean, they're extremely dedicated. It was such a fun process to be a part of because all these guys they're building these guns, and it can be a little bit monotonous, but to do that event and have everyone, like, the whole time they're thinking about this is, if this was my gun, would I be okay with this?
Yeah.
And the fact that every single one of them is like, no, if I have a deluxe, I want it to be flawless. That's what you can expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably like a cool thing to actually go into a meeting. Like, how do we become more efficient? And you're like, we can't really rush any of this process because it's got to be perfect. That's kind of cool.
It's a lot of hand polishing on a wheel, multiple wheels that just progressively finer polish, and you get that mirror finish. I love seeing them before they're blued on the gunsmith's desk down there in the custom shop, where it's just like, literally it hurts your eyes. The metal's so bright and perfectly shiny. You're like, oh man, that's just so cool. And right before they blew it, it's pretty awesome. Yeah. So check out the Varmint Master. Check out 338 RPM on weatherby.com. If you're not signed up for our email list, please do that. Follow us on all the socials. And I think that's it for this one.
That's it.
Thanks for tuning in.
Way to land the plane, Jacob. Nice.